going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be back to work on our 1966 Ford Mustang that we bought from the salvage auction. But before we do anything on this car, I wanna give a little update on our 2015 Nissan GTR that we also purchased from the salvage auction. We kind of slowed down on this project because we're doing that project, and we're also waiting for some new filters for the paint booth so we get a nice clean paint job on this car. So go ahead and stay tuned for next week's video because we will be getting this thing painted. But now let's go ahead and see what we're gonna be doing on our 1966 Ford Mustang. So in the last video, we did get the motor and transmission mounted up inside the car. We just did a little bit of a mock-up. We just rolled it under here, and surprisingly it fits in there pretty good. The wheel is kind of cambered because the strut is pushed in, but that's all right. And we also have decided we are going to be cutting the car down the center and making the entire car wider to accommodate for the wider track of the 2015 Mustang GT. And also that is going to help us with the dash placement inside. As you can see, the dash is a little bit too big. This is where the door is going to be closing, so that's going to help out with all that. And we have a little bit more cutting to do inside. All we have to do is finish cutting this right here and do some trimming, and all the cutting is done on this Mustang. And we are also today going to be putting this car right here on the frame rack because a lot of the stuff is kind of jammed up in there, like the drive shaft is jammed up in there, and I don't really want to do much cutting on it. And I think it would be pretty cool just to see how much we can get this car pulled out. But now that that's said, let's go ahead and cut this car up. So we got both sides nice and cut out. We're gonna leave all the trimming and the fabbing in the next video because we are gonna be building the fully custom frame rails. Now what we need to do is get this subframe back on this car so we can get it rolled onto the frame. We got the subframe rolled under the car. Now we're gonna go ahead and line it up and see if it'll go back on. We might just have to put like 2 bolts in because all of them won't fit. So let's lower this car down and get this subframe back on. We got the car back on the subframe, and man, it did not want to line up at all. I'm guessing when we unscrewed the subframe, the rails got pushed over. There was a bunch of tension on there. But we also just went ahead and threw some rolly dollies under there. Now let's go ahead and drag this thing onto the frame. So we got the car on the frame machine. We actually had to use the folder to push it and drag it on here, but we got it up here finally. We did have some trouble because of the subframe being all bent up, but now we're gonna go ahead and lift up the frame and get this thing clamped down. So now that we got the Mustang all secure on the frame rack, now we have to go ahead and get these clamps back off this Mustang. These are actually from the frame. So let's go ahead and do that and get that car clamped down. Got to get them squats in real nice. Man, this thing is absolutely light. We went ahead and took the clamps off the older Mustang, and check these out. These right here are gonna clamp down to the pinch welds right here, and it's gonna hold the car nice and secure to the frame, so when we're pulling it, it doesn't move. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got this side all nice and secure. And if you're wondering why we're using 3 clamps over here, we usually use 2 for each side, but on the other side, you can't really put any clamps. So we just put 1 for safety. So we got the car nice and secure on the frame. Now we're gonna go ahead and bring the frame post over here and start pulling. So we got the frame post over here, and I'm not even too sure how to pull this thing because of the severe damage of it, but I'm thinking we just grab a hook right here and just start pulling it out, and we'll just see how it comes out. So we got the frame post nice and set up, and now let's just see how it comes out. So we're making a little bit of progress. It's taking forever to get this all pulled out, but check that out. You can all the way see through the car. As you can see, everything is moving out of the way. We actually have some room over there now. At first, you couldn't even stick your hand in there. And also, the drive shaft is now not stuck between the car. It actually dropped down through there. I don't know how well you can see that, but the drive shaft did fall down, and you can see how the whole entire tunnel is starting to come apart. So let's go ahead and continue pulling this thing out. So check it out, it's almost there. Now we just need to use this clamp right here. We're gonna try to pull the inner section out, because as you can see, the outer skin just popped off with all the spot welds right here. So let's go ahead and put this clamp on and keep on pulling. And we are also gonna just throw this blanket on this chain, just in case if it does pop off, this will absorb all the impact. So let's go ahead and see if this thing will pull out. car nice and pulled out. Now we can get to all the wiring right here. As you can see, this wire did get a little bit beat up right here, but it doesn't look like it ripped any of the wires, which is pretty cool because we need all these wiring harnesses. And we can also get the dash out easier because as you can see, this piece right here was actually pressing up against the dash, and it would be really hard to get it out, and we'd have to do a lot more cutting, but we went ahead and just put it on the frame, pulled it all out. Now it's time to go ahead and get this car off the frame, so let's go ahead and do that. Car off the frame machine, and it was definitely a lot easier taking it off than putting it on. And also check this out, guys, we straightened out the entire roof and it came out pretty good. But now we're gonna go ahead and put it on the lift because we need to take these wheels off and take the rear suspension off. So we got the car up in the air, and check this out. This drive shaft was actually jammed up right here, and we probably will be needing a new drive shaft. This one is a little bit bent right here, but man, check out the frame rails. They look pretty straight under here. Also, all the brake lines are all free. Now we can get them out also. But now we're gonna start with removing this drive shaft right here, and then we'll move on to the rear. So we got the drive shaft off. Now we're gonna go ahead and start taking off this entire rear subframe. There's a couple bolts over here. We need to disconnect the brake lines and take the airbags off. So let's go ahead and drop it down. So we got everything off the subframe. We disconnected both e-brake cables, the ABS, and the brake lines. Now we're just gonna lower the car down and simply unbolt these things, and this thing should just come right off. So check this out, we got the subframe off and everything's looking pretty good under here. I can't see any bends or creases. The only thing I see is broken is this sway bar link, which is no big deal, but all the other control arms look like they're pretty straight and there's nothing really bent. And also the frame rails back here look like they're pretty straight, nothing got bent back here. These are really strong compared to the front ones. The front ones are a little bit weaker than the rear, I guess, to handle all that horsepower that the 5.0 puts out. But now since we got the rear end out, let's go ahead and get this fuel tank dropped down. The gas tank out, and the cool thing is this thing actually came with a full tank of gas. It was a lot harder to get it out, but that is all we're going to take off this car for now. We're actually going to take this car off later and set it next to that Mustang, so once we're fabbing up the new frame and everything, we can start grafting stuff from this car onto that car. But now I want to go ahead and get this rear end and roll it over to the Mustang and see how it fits up in the rear. So check this out, we got the rear independent suspension underneath the Mustang, and let me tell you, it is lining up pretty good, but obviously we don't have the frame rails built yet, and I'm pretty sure we can use these factory wheel wells right here because we are planning on cutting the car down the center like this and widening it out, and it shouldn't be too hard. Back here, everything is just flat, so all we need to do is put a little plate in right here, and same thing up here. And the roof, we are doing the fastback, so we'll have to probably get two roofs and splice them together, and we probably will do a little bit of a wide body right here, but I'm planning on doing a really slight wide body. Basically, it's gonna look just like this lip right here, but probably just like an inch, just so it's not too big and too flashy, and so it kind of looks factory. Now, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at vTuned.